While San Francisco can do many things well on the offensive side of the ball, perhaps they do nothing better than running the ball. So in a somewhat predictable fashion, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch decided to continue their heavy investment in the position by signing Patrick Taylor from the Green Bay Packers. He is only 25 years old, and last year he had a career year. So in this video, I wanted to dive deeper into the absolute beast Patrick Taylor is and what it will offer San Francisco going forward. Perhaps the biggest thing that stands out about him is his athletic profile for how big he is. He comes in to right around 220 pounds and is 6'1", but surprisingly, he ran his 40-yard dash in 4.57 seconds and 10-yard split in 1.54 seconds. So while his body type says that he's a pure bruiser of a running back, there were times on the tape in which I was pleasantly surprised by his athleticism. He gets out in open space extremely well, he makes cuts well, and I think over the course of his NFL career, Taylor has learned how to utilize his size to his advantage more effectively. In combination with this, I believe Bobby Turner, San Francisco's running back coach, will be able to get the absolute most out of Patrick Taylor, as he has done with countless other backs across the course of his career. And at the very least, Taylor has been a key contributor on special teams for the Packers, so San Francisco continues to bolster their team in that aspect. But there's so much more to Taylor than just his athletic profile, so I want to dive deeper into his career up to this point, including a film breakdown of his most recent year with the Packers. Patrick Taylor was born April 29, 1998 in Humble, Texas, and started his football career at Atascosa High School. There, he was primarily viewed as a three-down running back, and people were impressed by his size and how aggressive he ran. And 24/7 Sports also noticed him and ranked him as a 3-star recruit. Coming out of high school, he had offers from Colorado, Nevada, Colorado State, and Memphis. Ultimately, Taylor did decide to take his talents to Memphis, and during his true freshman year, he accumulated nearly 550 yards and 2 touchdowns, so it really didn't take him long to get going, and he just continued to improve over the course of his college career. The next year as a sophomore, for instance, he was able to rack up 866 yards and 13 touchdowns on the ground. But he decided that really wasn't enough and put on an absolute show during his junior year where he amassed 1,122 yards and 16 touchdowns via the ground. But unfortunately for Taylor, after this strong junior season, he did suffer a foot injury that really hampered him during his senior season and only played in about half the games. Unsurprisingly, this was his worst production standpoint, where he only picked up 350 yards on the ground and 5 touchdowns, but when he was playing, I thought he was a better back than his first couple years in college. But despite a senior season that probably wasn't up to Patrick Taylor's likings, he set his sights on the 2020 NFL Combine and Draft. So with that, scouts decided to dive a little bit deeper into his game to see what he could offer at the next level. As far as strengths go, Taylor is your ideal big body back in the NFL, size and athleticism wise. And at the college level, he was able to routinely use his athleticism to challenge the second level of the defense. And his size also allowed him to routinely fall forward during his college days. He was also a touchdown machine. Across his time with Memphis, he racked up 36 on the ground. But while there were positives to his game, there were also areas in which he definitely needed to improve. Perhaps the most notable being Taylor's inability to consistently get the most out of his size. While there are times where you would see him knocking off defenders' helmets, other times he got a little bit too fancy with his footwork and then ended up getting hit. Overall, when scouts looked at Patrick Taylor, they saw him as a late day 3 pick and someone that could definitely develop into a solid backup in the NFL level, and he could even find a nice niche role as a goal line back. Despite many having Taylor projected as a day 3 pick, he was undrafted mainly due to his foot injury he sustained his senior season. But shortly after the 2020 NFL Draft, Taylor would get his first real opportunity with the Packers, and for the next 3 years, he would be there. So far with the Packers, Taylor has been an absolute beast on special teams, as well as making his presence felt on the offensive side of the ball. And last year when I turned on the film, I saw a much improved back from his college days. He looked much more decisive and looking to initiate contact much more. Furthermore, his vision looked vastly improved from his college days. When we're watching a play like this, for instance, I really want to focus on how well he sees the field and how he squeezes this gap hard. As you can see the gap forming, and then Taylor does a great job of shooting it, and then once the tackler does initiate, he does a great job of keeping his feet driving and keeping that pile moving forward. On this play, I think Taylor shows off his great balance as well as an ability to pick up these hard yards. This is the fourth quarter, so the team knows he's coming at him. But regardless of all of that, Taylor's able to break a tackle and pick up a pretty nice gain. One of my favorite parts about watching Patrick Taylor this year though was how much I watched him fall forward. In the past, he might not have kept his feet moving, but this year, he really seemed to do a great job of keeping his feet chugging, and then on this play, you can see how that leads to him picking up 3 yards. He really does a great job of leaning forward after his runs. When we watch this play, we get to see the combination of Patrick Taylor's vision as well as that lean I was talking about. Here, he avoids a defender in the backfield and then finds a pretty small gap. And then what I really want to focus on is when he initiates contact, this whole entire pile is getting driven forward. And it's not just like he does this once or twice, he routinely has good vision, and on this play, he shows off a nice blend of his vision and that athleticism I was alluding to earlier. An area in which I think he really improved from his college days was being much more decisive as a runner. During his college days, sometimes he would dance around a little bit too much in the backfield, trying to make too much happen. But at the pro level, I think he's done a much better job of accepting if there's a gap, shoot it and shoot it as hard as you can. On a play like this, for instance, he does a great job of identifying the defender clogging up his gap and then decides to reroute himself and picks up a pretty good gain. And while Patrick Taylor is no Christian McCaffrey, I do think they both do a great job of making the first defender miss. On this play, for instance, he's dead in his rights, but he slides right out of that tackle, and then I love how he puts his foot in the ground and gets upfield in a hurry. I also think, much like his college days, Taylor does a nice job of moving in the open field. Here, for instance, he finds the gap once again and then shoots this hard. And while he's not going to have the breakaway speed of a smaller back, I don't think his athleticism is all that terrible. In fact, I actually think it's one of his most underappreciated aspects. And while we've been focusing on Taylor running the ball, I also think he's pretty good as a pass catching back, or at least on dump offs like this. He's able to turn his head around, and then once he gets the ball in his hands, he shows off great vision, and in a similar way he falls forward running the ball, he does the same thing when he catches it. So while he's probably not the best receiving back, I do think he does enough in this aspect of his game, especially if he's asked to be more of a goal line type back. Overall, when I'm looking at Patrick Taylor, I see like a beast mode 2.0. He's not the fastest, but he can definitely pick up those tough yards. And similar to other additions San Francisco has made this offseason, Taylor offers great special teams versatility. But ultimately, these are just my thoughts about Patrick Taylor, and I'd like to hear your thoughts down below. It would also mean a ton if you liked and subscribed, and as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.